and welcome to another fabulous episode of Thyroid Refresh TV, a podcast dedicated to helping you live a thyroid healthy lifestyle. We're so glad to be back with you again. I'm Dana Bowman.
And I'm Ginny Mahar, and we are the dynamic duo behind Thyroid Refresh and Thyroid 30. And we're thrilled to be here today with Thyroid Refresh friend and advisory board member, the one and only Stacey Robbins, to hear her story of how she lost over 100 pounds, you guys, on the keto diet, among others. And we're going to hear the whole story today. But she was also able to cut her thyroid medication along that journey. So we're so thrilled to hear this first person journey that Stacey had of successful weight loss and the different tactics that she used, what worked, what didn't. So Stacey, thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for being who you guys are in the thyroid world. I mean, you guys have such immensely strong material that's so supportive. You guys are super dedicated to our thyroid community. And every time I see your work, I'm like, I know it's excellent work and it's making a huge difference. So thank you for including me in that. That's how I think of you when I think of you guys in Thyroid Nation.
That's so sweet. Thank you for saying that. Yes. And I know
it's the truth.
Well, you've got some really great pieces on Thyroid Refresh, and our audience loves Stacey. So
Yes,
thank you for being a part of that.
That's my pleasure. I appreciate you including me, you guys. Thank you.
Before we jump in, I want to give all the listeners a little heads up and bio info on Stacey for those of you who don't know too much about her. I can't imagine that since she is an advisor on our board and writes some fabulous stuff for us. But Stacey Robbins, CHC, and she's a registered yogi as well, is a soulful storyteller and key influencer in the global conversation on healing your life through Hashimoto's. Isn't that the truth? Her award-winning book, You're Not Crazy and You're Not Alone, is filled with hilarious, honest, and heart-aching moments along the journey of doctors telling her the symptoms were all in her head, to telling her a year and a half later to get her affairs in order. Stacey holds nothing back as she weaves her heroic tale and playfully inspires women from all walks of life to see that we can use every circumstance, including a diagnosis, as a way to transform our victim mindset, rediscover our sense of humor, and learn to love ourselves again. In her darkest moments, she dreamed her life and then has been able to live the life of her dreams, raising her family in unique ways, traveling cross-country and then to Europe for months on end, leading gorgeous boutique retreats in Italy, and writing her book, An Unconventional Life, Where Messes and Magic Collide, where she shares the wisdoms and tales of a life lived outside the norm. She brings all of this and more to her community as a speaker, coach, and dream advocate. Women walk away feeling relieved, comforted, and empowered, and more at her home and their very own soul. So thank you so much. We are so glad to have you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And yeah, this is an exciting conversation because, only most of the world wants to lose weight.
And especially thyroid patients. Man.
Right.
I mean, this is the number one hot topic, right? And then also, I think the number one source of frustration. And, I know on my personal journey, it's been incredibly frustrating for me to try to lose weight. And like so many of members of our community, I have been in that place of I have tried everything and nothing has worked. So we really wanted to talk about keto because there is a little bit of disagreement in the medical community about whether or not keto is right for thyroid patients. And I think what we've gathered from our expert contributors like Dr. Anna Kabecka is that, it can work for some people if done properly. So we're excited to hear your story. Amazing success story, over 100 pounds. Wow, that had to be quite a journey, Stacey. And your Hashimoto's journey has been one with some real roller coaster weight loss and gain. But your amazing win using the keto diet landed you on the cover of Women's World magazine. And yes. Before we dive in, I just wanted to share, this is kind of a funny story on its own. Thyroid Refresh was featured in Women's World a while back. And since then, I'll occasionally hear from the editor looking for a very specific type of person they can interview. And they reached out one day and said, we're looking for someone who's lost over 100 pounds, a thyroid patient who's lost over 100 pounds using keto. Does anyone come to mind? And usually their parameters are so specific. It's like, I'm sorry, but in this case, I thought, yes, I do know someone, because I had just seen your Facebook post that said, you guys, I did it. I made it to the 100-pound mark. And so I sent them Stacey's way. And next thing we know, she is on the cover of Woman's World magazine.
So funny. It's so funny. First of all, thank you so much, because, you guys, Dana and Jenny, I've only known you guys to be incredibly generous and resourceful. Like, you are just such a hub of information for people, and you're always flowing stuff through. And it was really kind of you to refer me. I'm glad that my
we were happy to.
Recent wow was like something that was in front of you, and that you remembered me in that key moment. And I want you to know, like, I had zero idea I was going to be on the cover. I thought I was going to be a small picture on the inside and then a little blurb that was supporting Anna's work, of healthy keto. And then after I did the interview part, I just had this sense, I'm like, I have a feeling I'm going to be on the cover. There was just like this inner, like, knowing that, one of those psychic prophetic moments. And sure enough, I started getting phone calls a couple months later when the thing was out, and people were just like, I'm in line at the store in Wisconsin and I'm staring at you. Oh my God. Like, from people I hadn't heard from in 30 years, people who had only known me at 270 pounds, maybe, when I was sick, people who didn't know if I was still alive. So it was kind of really a funny, you think Facebook is a connecting point. Wow. Well, Woman's World is really a connecting point too.
Yeah. Well, and it was really great. It was really great because, like Jenny said, the parameters, I mean, what are the odds of that? It's how great, right?
Yeah, it's like reaching over to be over 100 years old. It's like, how many people over 100?
Right?
Not that many.
Right.
Well, and I get it too, because A, it's a huge accomplishment, and B, keto is hot in the world of weight loss these days. And as I mentioned, we've published some content on Thyroid Refresh about this, because there are quite a few thyroid patients finding success with it. I know several of our Thyroid 30 players have experimented with it successfully, some of them unsuccessfully. It seems like it really depends on the individual, but it is something that can work for some people when nothing else seems to be working. And, we both mentioned Dr. Anna Cabeca. She's one of the leading experts on using what she calls green keto as a healthy and sustainable weight loss strategy for thyroid patients. And she outlines this in a book she recently published called The Hormone Fix, and more recently, the accompanying book, the Keto Green 16. And Thyroid Refresh members can learn more about this in her article, Do Ketogenic Diets and Thyroid Patients Mix? If you are curious to get more into the research behind this and take a little bit more of a clinical perspective on whether, evaluating whether or not this is something that might be right for you. So, as we mentioned, we're all unique. What works for one person might be disastrous for another. But, I think, and we hear that about keto. One person swears by it, another person says it made them feel worse. But we're here today to hear your keto story, Stacey. So can you share that with us and maybe fill us in on a little bit of the specifics of how you were able to climb this 105-pound mountain?
Yeah. And is it okay if I talk a little bit about outside of like the other things that I tried in addition? Because I really feel like it's not just been a keto journey. I feel like it's been an overall thing, but I want to respect where you want to start.
Yeah, sure.
So, I tried every diet because when I gained over 100 pounds, when the doctors were misdiagnosing me, I was gaining sometimes 15 pounds in a month, or in 2 weeks, I'd gain 15 pounds. And that happened over and over until I didn't recognize myself anymore. And I kept going to the doctors and they were like, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. I'm like, it's on my rear end. What are you talking about? It's not all in my head. I'm like, I have living proof that it's not all in my head. And, when you have a thyroid issue and you're not properly medicated, your hunger goes down, your metabolism goes goes down. So it's not like I was eating more. I was trying to exercise more, and I was trying to do all these things. And I want to let you know, like, my vanity really hit me because I was on stage all the time as a public speaker and a performer in music. And so I was really just very focused on let me lose the weight, even though I was losing energy and having all these other symptoms of Hashimoto's that the doctors were missing and I didn't understand. I was really focused on, I just want to be skinny. If I could be skinny, I'll put up with the tired, I'll put up with the dry skin, I'll put up with the no libido, I'll put up with the cranky attitude and the brain fog. I'll put up with all that if I could just get my genes back, and me and my genes. And so I tried a lot of diets. I did a lot of things, like I did probably the cabbage soup diet and the hot dog diet and the eat only eggs diet and the whatever, you know what I mean? Like I tried so many things, but the truth is you can't out diet or out exercise a funky metabolism and a funky thyroid, but I didn't know that. And so my journey to get skinny to accommodate my vanity really just kept hitting a wall. And so, but then I started learning about healthier options, and I started doing South Beach diet, which, naturally had lower carbs, but it had a lot of cheese, and I didn't understand Hashimoto's and dairy at that time, and I tried zone diet, and so I'd have some grains, and but I didn't understand Hashimoto's and grains and slow digestion, so I was just trying all these things, and sometimes I did lose. I did Weston A. Price, and that was hopeful. I did Donna Gates, body ecology. I did all these things, but I didn't really understand. Probably one of the biggest things was that I had to learn to listen to my body. I had to learn to listen to how it was shifting and what state of body it was in, like what state of stress, and that I could do certain diets with ease during certain times, and then I couldn't during other times. And I just didn't really understand, because my brain just wanted to tell me to get in line and get skinny again. Like, just do it. Come on, body. And I was still being demanding. So I think that by the time I found keto, I was spending a lot of years finding my way on listening to my body, doing food sensitivity tests and trying certain, like, can I eat it during these hours, but not during these? Can I fast? Can I do intermittent fasting? Well, not when I'm in a flare. Can I do this version of keto? By the time I hit keto, so this is where I'll tell you, because I lost probably 60 pounds doing all of those other things and more that I haven't mentioned. And then the last 55 truly was probably a really devoted intermittent fasting combined with several different versions of keto, including like a green keto, but not always, because again, I've been trying to find my way for a long time, because many Hashimoto's and thyroid patients can probably attest to this. People say, just eat less and move more. Just do Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Lindora, HCG, and you do these things faithfully and spend a lot of money and time, but you don't always lose the weight. And so I found that I would just try to keep plugging myself into a ready, set, go system that worked with most people with a normal metabolism and a normal thyroid, and I didn't have their same normal results. So for me, it's just, so I guess I want to preface that to the women out there who are listening, because you've been frustrated too. I just want to encourage you that I know that it feels like the biggest goal is to just not be fat anymore. And the biggest goal is to just get back into your body. But I believe, because I work so much on the spiritual and mindset and emotional components and relational components with Hashimoto's, I really believe that the biggest relationship that I need to be in as a best friend is to my body and my being. And I wasn't that. And I think that trying all the diets really helped me to really get past that single focused goal. If I just want to lose weight, to, I think I need to get to know me and love me and accept me and be kind to me and be the kind of friend that I'm looking for outside of me. I need to be that first. And yeah, I think that losing weight might be my very uncomfortable process of learning how to get reacquainted and loving me again. So thanks for letting me say all that, because I just feel like it's so much more. People ask me all the time, and they're like, so what's that one thing you did? I'm like,
Right.
Do you
Give
have
us
an
the
hour?
If
magic
only.
bullet. Yeah.
Right.
If only, right?
And I was that way too. So I so respect where that's coming from, and that like desperate look in the eyes of just tell me. If you tell me the one magic thing that helped for you, then I'll do that too. And I don't want to sell my soul to the devil at the next diet anymore.
Right.
I really want to do what's healthy and honoring for me.
I'm so glad you prefaced with that, because that really is what it's about. It's never just one thing, it's all the things. We just did a members only webinar with a weight loss expert and functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, Angela Brown. And one of her, the thing that she's really shouting from the rooftops is your body doesn't really want to lose weight. And for so many of us, there's underlying issues that we have to tackle first before the weight loss will even occur. And that includes emotional stuff, spiritual stuff, underlying infections, all of it comes into play. So do you feel like there were underlying issues for you that came up throughout this journey that
I'm perfect. I have no problems. I had a perfect childhood, a perfect young adulthood. I've made perfect decisions, and it's just
were there like a couple big ones though where you were like, wow, this weight loss journey really made me face a couple of things I was neglecting?
Yes. And I'll preface it with this. Like, I just had one of my weight loss clients who came to me, not all people come to me for weight loss, but this gal came to me, and she had tried tens of thousands of dollars in diets. I'm not kidding. Like, had been on diets most of her young adult life. And she came to me, and I was like, I'm not putting you on a diet. I said, we're going to do 4 weeks of mindset. I said, we're not even going to talk about food. We're going to talk about you. And I gave her tools every week as a coach, and I built them, and she did them faithfully. And I said, I don't want you stepping on the scale. I don't want you to measure anything. Nothing. I just want you to live your life. I don't want you to judge your plate. If something sounds good, feels good, you do it, but just do all these tools. 2 weeks later, she's like, have a box of Cheez-Its I have not dipped into. And she said, I can't believe that, because I normally eat like a box every couple of days. I was like, yeah, just enjoy that. If you want to eat them. And then a couple of weeks later, she's like, my clothes are swimming on me. Week 5, I said, it's time to pick a food protocol. I said, what? And I gave her like 6, 7 choices. I'm like, here's some research, do some research on your own, because you got to own your life. I'm not responsible for your life. I'm not eating your meals with you. And she was like, I think I want to do this. And she landed on something that felt really good. And we talked every week. And at week 8, I said, okay, now weigh yourself. And so she weighed herself and measured herself, and she said, I've lost 31 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like the first 4 weeks was mindset alone. So do I know the value of that? Yeah. What were some key things for me? I think when you've had an unsafe past, I think when you've gone through unsafe experiences, what happens is you look for safety outside of you. You look for something to be magical outside of you, whether it's those magical people, oh, you're a safe person, or you're looking for that safe partner, or you're looking for that safe job, or something that's going to make you feel safe. And so I really believe that many of us look to food to feel safe. That we feel unsafe, and food feels comforting. It's like, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable feelings. Cake always helps. Coffee makes me feel happy. We know that white rice lowers your cortisol. Like, it's a fact. If you have oatmeal, if you take too much thyroid medication, one of the things the doctors will tell you is eat a big bowl of oatmeal, because it will really, it'll absorb that thyroxine, and you will be able to relax. So we're looking for something extrinsically to make us feel safe. And I really believe that one of the things that I had to go on the journey of is knowing that I am safe inside of me. And for me, safety means I trust me, I believe me, I accept me, I am my word, so I know that I will do what I said I do, and that means that I'm safe out in the world, because I know that I'll keep my word to me. And I'm resourceful and I'm resilient. Those are probably the 3 biggest things are, I am my word, I am resourceful, and I am resilient. So integrity means that if I say something, I'll do it. Resourcefulness means I'll use everything that comes my way and turn it into something for my good. Just like in the same way you get a broken piece of glass and you can turn it into a mosaic. And then I am resilient means if I fall, I can get back up again. So what happens is the safety comes from the inside. It means I don't need the whole world to be safe, because I'm bringing my safety with me. So I don't need you to be more for me than I am for myself. When that happens, you don't need food to be more for you than you are for yourself. And so a lot of the issues go away once women reconcile their safety. And probably the second key thing is the enoughness, a sense of I am enough. I am satisfied with who I am. And when you know you don't need to do more, to be more, when you stop over identifying with your productivity or your job or the letters after your name, then you settle into your I am enough. And when you have that sense of peace, you live in a state of homeostasis. And when you're in homeostasis, that means all of your body can work in normal ways. And you're not like over needing other things to satisfy your enoughness, because it comes from the inside. So you don't have to overeat food, because when you're enough, you just eat enough. And so I know that those sound like basic principles, but God, either I'm really thick in the head or whatever, but it took me a long time to unravel this, that my safety was about my past being projected into my future. And my enoughness was this idea that I had about myself, that something else equaled my worth. If I make X amount of dollars, then I'm worthy. If I marry this kind of person, if I have these kind of kids, or I drive this kind of car, live in that kind of house, in that kind of place, and have this kind of portfolio, and this kind of number on the scale, then I am worthy. And it really, to be 270 pounds, to be stuttering, to literally like be bleeding from my skin and sitting and having the doctors tell me that I was dying, really provoked me having to say, God, I'm not any of those things that I counted my worth as. Where does my worth really come from? And to go on that inside out journey and to live from the inside out has taken me a long time. And I'm not even going to say I'm all the way there on any of those things. I just know that that journey seems to be really important. And when I kept hitting weight loss stalls or weight loss or weight gains or whatever it was, separate from the thyroid instabilities of Hashimoto's, but when I kept hitting those, it really kept provoking me to go inside, not to be more demanding and more restrictive with food and more punishing with myself, but it really just caused me to go in.
Well, and you don't read about that in many diet books, if any, but it really is about getting at the root cause of a lot of weight issues. And I think I'm glad you shared that, because I think it's so relatable. I know after 7 going on 8 seasons now of Thyroid 30, I've learned a lot about myself. And one thing I've learned, and I know people get really tired of hearing, the buzzword self-care, self-care. The more I put into self-care, the easier the healthy choices become. It's like your friend with the box of Cheez-Its. I don't want that as much anymore when I'm taking the baths, when I'm doing the meditations, when I'm journaling, when I'm, talking to a therapist or a friend sometimes about deep inner stuff that's weighing on me, so that you don't turn so much to food or drink or whatever it is in those times of stress or boredom. And it's like, it makes the work so much easier to do when you start at, that foundational level. So I'm so glad that we got to talk about that.
I also want to jump in really quick, Jenny, if you don't mind. I was thinking that I understand all the people, as I have been there myself, all the women out there that are going, I want, I'm going to try this diet. I want to try this diet. And of course they need to do all the work, all the inner work, like you guys are saying. But you can see and you can feel that need of, I just want to do this diet because I just want to lose the weight. And why can't it be quick when so many things in my life are quick and easy? If I want food right now, I can drive through. If I want something on Amazon, I can get it in a day. I can get it the same day. We're in this world, I say it a lot, but we're in this convenience, quick world. And so, I want the women out there to forgive themselves for wanting it to be fast. I understand that. I want things fast. I mean, you can't help it. And then also to realize that it just isn't. And I don't mean it has to be years and years and years, but it's not going to be fast. It's not going to be you drive through and you walk out the other side and you've lost 10 pounds. It's just not. And that's okay. Because a lot of women beat themselves up. I have beat myself up. I know. Because you're thinking, well, okay, a week, okay, 2 max. You know, it's not going to happen that soon. And it's okay that you want that because it's normal, but it just isn't, you know?
I think that's a really great point. And, you know, there's a quote, I was going to look it up on my phone, but I don't know how to do that discreetly without looking like a goober and doing this, you know. But there's a quote from, I think, Ralph Waldo Emerson or somebody really pithy and awesome in nature. And he talks about how, you know, like basically go out in nature because it has its own rhythm and patience, and it accomplishes everything. And so I think that, you know, life is both. I think there are some fast things that happen in life and things that can be miraculous or quick or we're able. And I think there are things that take time. And I think that we just haven't cultivated, I think some of those time muscles aren't super strong in our very immediate world right now. And so, yeah, this will cause us to that. And, you know, the truth is that your weight loss, depending on how much you have to lose, could take 5 months or 5 years or 50 years. And it really depends on how consistent you are over time and how you adjust with changes and how you deal with the saboteur that comes up. And I could talk about the saboteur in a minute, but I tell my clients this in general and all of my Hashimoto's community. You know, basically, I believe as a coach, there are couple of ways that we can learn. We learn by revelation. We have this aha moment of, oh my gosh, the angels walk through the front door. I call it the front door approach. Like the angels walk through the front door and go, you're so gloriously divine. Don't you know how amazing and magical you are? We fall to our knees in the light and we have this aha revelation. I'm awesome. We walk out the front door and we live life differently. I think that's really beautiful. And that can really, you know, aha moments and revelation doesn't always happen through some glorious thing. Sometimes it happens through tragedy or loss or a wake up when you lost somebody or you got through that cancer time or whatever. Like sometimes it's not some really beautiful angel singing moment, but we do have revelation. Sometimes situations cause revelation, good and hard. And then sometimes there's the backdoor approach. And the backdoor approach is that we don't have revelation about the wonder of who we are and the worthiness that we have and our value and intrinsic divinity. We don't have that. But we know we need to lose weight and we know we need to do something for that. So if we would take consistent action over time, what will happen is the lies that are in our head will start coming up to the surface, because as soon as you start doing the loving thing to yourself, because the front door revelation is I love me. The back door revelation is I do what is loving for me, even when I don't feel like it. And so if you do that, what happens is those beliefs of unworthiness and I'm not safe and I'm not enough and I don't accept me and I don't choose me and all of those things that come up will come up during the consistent action over time. So when you eat well and you keep eating well, whatever, all of those gremlins or whatever, those gremlin thoughts are going to come up. And the best way to refute those is to keep going and to keep being consistent in your action, because that will actually dispel the myths that you have about yourself. And what you start learning is like what Glennon Doyle talks about, you know, I can do hard things. I trust me. I am resilient. Look at me. Look at how much health is in my body. Look how powerful I am to make a difference in my life. Wow, if I'm powerful to make differences this way, then maybe I've been the one who's been powerful to undermine myself. We can get revelation through the front door of experience or the back door of consistent action. And so I just tell people, you got to choose. You know, you choose your path. You can sit in counseling or in meditation in a cave with a cloak on you in the Andes Mountains with some guru until you have a wake up about yourself, or you can go and step out into the city and live in a way that you really need to live, that's loving, and that will cause some revelation too. So that's how I approach my clients, and that's how I've had to live with myself.
It's like a practice.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah. So I do want to, if you're open to it, talk about the sort of the nuts and bolts, because
sure.
I think it's really, I know the listeners are, dying to hear. And I think it's really, it says something about, you did something right if you were able to lower your thyroid meds, even during this weight loss, which in a way is a stress on the body, right? Yeah. So what did it look like for you? I know you used several different approaches throughout the whole journey, and maybe that last 50 or 60 pounds you said was more keto focused. Can you tell us about what that looked like?
Sure. So in my understanding of keto, it was like, high fat, low to no carbs, and if you wanted to have some fruit, it might be a small amount of berries, like blueberries or raspberries or strawberries, and some vegetable, and if you do that consistently through the day, then you can lose weight. So I tried that, and in some ways I lost weight, in some ways I didn't, with that 70% fat and 30% protein and, whatever small percentage of carb, but I found that particular ratio didn't work with me, but that's kind of like the standard thing that people do. And, you could do nuts and you could do cheese and you could do this stuff. And so I tried to do it the traditional way. And I found that I didn't feel very good personally on that. And that's when I started messing with the ratios and the amount of time, the times that I ate throughout the day. And I was just trying to understand myself. So what I did personally, where I ended up landing, was I really thrive a lot of the time, but not always, on one meal a day, sometimes 2 meals a day. I find that for me, listening into when my metabolism and where my circadian rhythm is, like where I'm at the maximum energy burning time to eat, is like between 10 and 2 or 10 and 4 p.m. in general. And I do really well with leafy greens. I love spinach. I love making some salmon salad. I make salads. My husband calls them birdseed salads, because there's a lot to the salad. It's like a meal in itself. It's like, okay, here's some salmon salad I made, with some, avocado oil mayonnaise, and then I'll put red onion, and then I'll do maybe some pumpkin seeds, or maybe I'll do a couple of garbanzo beans or whatever, like if you're going to count macros, if you're going to count carbohydrates, like you can do all that stuff. And I do that. And I kind of keep myself between 15 grams of carbohydrates a day, and then sometimes up to 40 or 50, because that's me. And am I always constantly in ketosis? No, I'm pretty sure I'm not. But I found that through approaching keto from the inspiration of the kind of the get rich quick, the get skinny quick, motivation, is that I found that, yes, it is effective, but not in all those ways for me personally, with how I burn fat and how my body needs protein or prefers greens. So that's where I've landed, is 1 to 2 meals a day. I eat within a 4 to 6 hour window. And then after that, it's mostly water. And if I want an adult beverage, I'll do a vodka with a little bit of pickle juice, or just a straight up premium vodka or something, rather than something that has calories and sweetness to it. I think those are my nuts and bolts. So I'll leave that there with you. You can ask anything about that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm curious about how you started to feel as this process was going on, and you started to figure out what works for your body.
Yeah. So sometimes when I didn't feel great, I got brain foggy, or I got that electrified feeling. I couldn't do the really strict keto of 5 grams or less of carbs a day. I couldn't do that when I was in an adrenal flare. I knew that for sure, because your adrenal glands get so, if they're already in a fried state, and needing repair, I found for me that the traditional method of eating every 2.5 to 3 hours of a balanced meal, including some carbohydrates, probably 5 or 6 times a day, really helped me, and a lot of rest. Because when your sugar crashes, your adrenals perceive it as stress, and it'll release adrenaline. Well, if you're trying to repair from that, then doing something that's going to like crash your sugar or spike your adrenaline, it isn't really great for you, for me. So I had to really listen to my body. And so during flare times, I didn't do a traditional keto. I found for me that I thrived more around that 15 to 20 grams of carbohydrates a day. And like I said, that eating 2 meals. And then I'm kind of a slow oxidizer, like things move slowly and I digest slowly. So I was able to make it the rest of the day and do intermittent fasting for 18 to 20 hours. That's what worked for me. But you have to know, I've been fasting since I was 13 years old, from like the religion I was in, the spirituality that I came to. I used it as a spiritual practice where I'd fast for 3 to 5 to 7 to 20 days. I'm not telling anybody to do that. You have to talk to your doctor. But I did those things to break habits in my mind and to move spiritual things that I cared about forward. So intermittent fasting was like 18 hours and I'm waiting. Oh my gosh, that's easy. I could do that in my sleep, literally, and while I'm awake. So I got this. So I incorporated like a green keto, healthy keto with intermittent fasting, 1 to 2 meals a day. And that made me feel energized. I had an issue of gasping. I don't know if you remember this when I would talk about this. I had an issue of gasping in the middle of the night. Every 3 minutes, I would wake up gasping. For 9 years, I did this for hours a night. Sometimes I'd have a few months off, and sometimes I'd take certain medicines or natural supplements that would help abate it. I did all of the apnea tests, all of this stuff. I did the endoscopy. No one could figure anything out. It was like another mystery. And then I did one of my practices, my 100-day gong that I do, where I do 100 days of the same thing every day. And I did 1 meal a day. Of like a keto, like my version of keto. And I did that for 100 days straight. And not only during that time did I lose like 35 of the pounds or 40 pounds of the weight loss, but the gasping issue that I had had for 9 years went away. And I truly believe it's because I was eating what were anti-inflammatory foods for me. I didn't do any dairy during that time. I didn't do any alcohol during that time. I don't think I did any coffee during that time. And I just had really anti-inflammatory foods. And I let my body be able to digest the rest of the time. And what happened is I think we healed that issue, because within about 40 or 50 days, not only had I lost weight and I was feeling really good, but that gasping issue I'd had for 9 years disappeared.
Wow. So what an amazing side effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So a veggie heavy, greens heavy, combined with intermittent fasting keto, when you were feeling able and when it felt good and right. And then if you went into maybe an adrenal flare or a Hashimoto's flare, you would go to more of, several small meals throughout the day with a little bit more carbs, and really just following what the cues that your body was giving you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you have to know, I didn't do it perfectly in between all those times. It's not like I was like, oh, this is one straight perfect line. You start here and you're losing all this weight. No, because I'd be resentful, and then I'd have to like deal with my emotions. And I'd be like, oh, here's some special occasions. This is the month between May and June where I gained 10 pounds traditionally because of all the birthdays, Mother's Days, Father's Days, and cake. Gluten-free cake, and frosting. And I love gluten-free cake and frosting. And I didn't want to miss out on life. And I finally realized this, girls. I realized that I want to live a mullet kind of life. I want business up front and party in the back. Like I want to do really, I want to like have the disciplines during the day. And then I want to live like a celebrity sipping champagne, overlooking a balcony. Yeah.
Oh, I know. I just was telling a friend, I'm a health nut who likes to party.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to enjoy life. And it's that, whether you want to call it 80-20 or 90-10 or just
70-30, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it is, just finding that balance that works for you because I think, some of us, especially the high achieving type A, we're going to overpower this weight issue. We're just going to ignore what our body's telling us. And we're going to just power through all of it and be so rigid and self-disciplined. And it's like self-discipline, I think, is part of any practice. You do have to be accountable to yourself, to showing up and doing the work.
Yes.
On the other hand, we have to be flexible too. We have to enjoy our lives, and we have to find that sweet spot where we can still enjoy our lives.
Yeah, if you can be disciplined and there's a joy within your discipline, then you can sustain it. That's you, and that's beautiful. And some people really love living that way, and that is their joy for them. I know a friend who was in Overeaters Anonymous, and she had lost 40 pounds. She literally, for the last, I've known her 30 years, she eats the same food every single day. Doesn't vary from that. And that is her peace and joy. And I would never take that from her. It's knowing it's her and it's her journey. And for me, you know, I've gone through that. Like, I just want to lose the weight and then I'll be able to live my life that I want. So I had some of that, you know, if and when, you know, if I do this, that if and then, if I do this, then I'll be able to live my life. And the truth was, I kept undermining myself because I didn't want to miss out on life. I didn't want to go to Italy and be on a diet, but I also didn't want to go to Italy and feel like crap. So when I lead my Italian retreats, I'm 100% gluten-free, and I lead my Italian retreats as a gluten-free retreat because most of the women who come have Hashimoto's or some other autoimmune condition. At the same time, if I go out and I want to have a gluten-free cone with some gelato because dairy occasionally is within bounds, or I'm willing to put up with it, you know, I don't have some big stomach issue from dairy, and but it's inflammatory, and you can see it because one of my eyes closes more. So when I go to Italy, you can tell when I go to Italy, both my eyes are really open wide and I'm smiling, and it's like, wow. And then like 2 weeks in, you can see there's one eye a little bit closed more because I'm dealing with some inflammation because I chose to have gluten-free pizza and I chose to have gelato sometimes twice a day. And I was willing to do that. And so I think when you know what you're willing to do and what ratio, 70, 30, 80, 20, 90, 10, whatever it is, then you got to know it may take longer. You got to be honest with yourself. And I think a lot of us have believed a lot of the get skinny quick messages that we've heard. And we've not been really honest with ourselves that, one, we're not always willing to do it. It's not sustainable for what our other beliefs are, and that we're going to be just as committed, but we're going to modify it and take a little bit longer. I think that when we get real with ourselves, we can have more fun with real life and not just feel like
I love that.
We're always on a diet.
And I feel like we don't. I don't feel like we haven't been trained, or we haven't, you know, put enough emphasis on forgiving ourselves. You know, like, if that's what you want to do and that's how long it takes, and, you know, just like you were saying, like, it's okay. Like, even just saying, you know, it's okay. You came to a place where you were like, I chose to do this, and so my eyes a little and that's okay. It's okay. And I forgive myself.
If you're gonna have the piece of cake, you should enjoy it. You should try to let it, you know, I made this choice and I'm going to enjoy this. I'm not going to just ride myself and, oh, it's ruined. You know, that's one thing I've heard from people, Stacey, who have tried keto, is it's so hard because, you know, it takes so long just to get into ketosis, and then you have to maintain it, and it's like really rigid and strict. And if you go off at all, then you're out of ketosis. And so it's really nice, and like, just makes me feel like I can sort of, you know, wear this a little more like a loose fitting garment instead of this very rigid, like, the way I did this is I followed all the rules strictly 24/7, and maybe let it take the time it does and enjoy the journey instead of just being so focused on getting to that destination.
Right.
I agree. I think that's really important. And Dana, just to address what you say, and I hear what you're saying with forgiveness. I guess what I've had to stop doing is seeing food as a sin. So I don't actually forgive myself. I don't have to, because I don't see food as this good or bad thing, and I'm good if I do this. But I do know what you mean about the principle, so I'm not negating the principle. For me, I did have to shift out of good, bad foods, right or wrong. It's like, I choose this. I accept me. And I choose this. And I understand, because I'm, you know, one of my mantras with all of my girls in the Girlfriend's Guide to Hashimoto's group is, I am 100% responsible for my life, health, happiness, and peace. And so if I know I'm 100% responsible, I then choose responsibly, knowing that certain things are going to have different consequences. And I'm not pretending with myself. I'm not pretending that dairy won't have consequences today. It's saying I'm choosing this. So in that, I personally don't have to apply forgiveness to that because it didn't sin against me. It's that I chose this. And in that way, I 100% owned responsibility for it being what it is and moving forward. And
thank you for explaining kind of what I was trying to get out. So
yeah, I get the heart of what you're saying. I think I frame it in a different way. I think because it just helps me personally, but you can frame it any way you want. But for me, I like this because I have had a lot of good, bad relationship with life, with my religious background, with my religiosity inside of myself of I'm this good girl now and I'm this bad girl when I'm not. And again, I'm not saying I'm healed of all of that. I think I'm just still in process, honestly. But I just think framing it that way helps me to see the picture of the beauty of me and the wholeness of me a little bit better.
Sure. So definitely. Now that you reached your goal.
I know. I didn't reach my goal. I got 25 more pounds to go. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're still on that same program and.
Yeah, no, I go in and out and on and off. It depends on like the time, and I'll go up, I'll go, oh, okay, I'm up 5 pounds. Oh, I'm down 5 pounds. Oh, and I just go. But the thing that's different about me is I jump back in quicker, to, oh, okay, well, I don't really want to be more than 5 pounds over that goal. So, I feel ready to move this next goal forward. I feel like I can give that my full attention. So I just feel like I'm maintaining and moderating myself. And I go, okay, I think the next 25 pounds are really close on the horizon to lose. Right now, I'm not overly focused on that. I'm just focused on being grateful to maintain the weight within a couple of pounds of what I've hit and just really celebrating that. So each day when I journal in my stream of consciousness journaling, if I did weigh myself that morning, I'll write down the weight and go, look at you. You're so awesome to be that weight. And if the pounds go up, I say the same thing. I'm like, look at you. You're so awesome to be at that weight. And when I go down, look at you. And I just kind of go, because the awesomeness isn't about the weight. It's about me, and the weight, I'm working on it being ancillary. The truth is that I still get fixated. I still get focused. I still get tempted to do good girl, bad girl. And I have to remind myself, it's not about that. That doesn't make you safe, Stacey. You're safe inside of yourself. A number doesn't make you more or less safe. Size of your pants doesn't make you more or less safe. The kitchen being cleaned and that Jenny and Dana can't see right now, that doesn't make you a better human. So I just kind of I'm in that constant conversation. And I think whenever you've had a traumatized background like I've had, and then you've been a learning, growing person like I've been, I just think that conversation is going to come up and we're going to keep experiencing our healing over time. And I'm just wanting to be gracious with myself on the process while I'm also realistic and disciplined with myself. All in that, it's not even balance. I try not to use that word in the same way anymore. It's a good word. I'm not judging the word, but I'm more looking for harmony.
Harmony is one of my favorite words. Love harmony. Love that word.
It's a great word because it means that sometimes it's going to be a more yang season, but there'll be just the right amount of yin in it. And some seasons are going to be a lot of yin, but it's going to still have some yang. And I'm not looking for perfect. It's like, oh, when it's a busy season with the boys, a full season with the boys, sometimes there is a little less self-care, self-mom stuff. And then sometimes they're out of the house more and I get a little bit more that time. So it's about harmony within myself so that I can still hear the beauty of the sound of my life echoing through life,
That's beautiful. Well, before we sign off, I was curious. I know we've heard about so many of the gifts of this journey and maybe we've kind of covered them all, but I was curious about the most surprising things, the most surprising positive of your, this weight loss victory. And also if there was maybe a surprising negative about it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I wish I knew that one before the whole thing today. I could have, no. I can be on the spot. Let's see. The most surprising positive thing. Is that, okay, I'm just going to pick one, even though it might not be the most surprising. Okay, but I will just say that I feel beautiful. I've treated myself like I'm beautiful. whether I was at 220 pounds, I started wearing cute clothes or whatever, or I was 165 pounds. And, you know, I mean, like I've watched me really express my beauty and feel beautiful, like look in the mirror and not look away. And I think that, I think there may be some places inside of me where I still look away because I'm still working on loving and accepting all of me. But I really think that I walk out and I feel beautiful. And then when my husband says to me, "You're so beautiful," and I'm like, "I know, and you can't stop me." You know, I like think there's this part of me that just, it doesn't feel arrogant or anything. It just feels that humble confidence. It feels that confidence. And doesn't mean that I think I'm the most beautiful. I'm not comparing. I'm just like, I feel beautiful inside my skin at
that
51 years old.
Yeah.
And so it's not about age or anything. It's about when you love yourself, you feel the beauty of yourself. And I think that as my love for myself has been evolving, that sense of I feel beautiful, I feel playful, I feel free has been evolving too. The most surprising thing I think that comes up is feeling angry. And I think that when foods abate your emotions, when foods mitigate emotions or calm emotions, I think that I didn't realize how uncomfortable I was with the emotion of anger and how much food suppressed that. And so when you remove those foods that medicate you, because you're not comfortable with the emotions, then you have to deal with it. And then you have to deal with whatever your judgmental ideas are about anger. You know, like, am I allowed to be angry? What does anger look like? And that threw me into a whole exploration of a book that I'm writing right now. It's a small book on the signposts of emotions and what they really mean, because I really had to face that. I had to face things like anger or jealousy or envy or disappointment or sadness. And those things I didn't realize that I was eating because I really wanted to be more stoic. But if food makes you stoic, you're not really stoic. Stoicism is perspective and peace. And I'm not even saying stoicism is the goal. You know, like, why did that have to be the goal? So I just got into a lot of questions because I didn't realize how much eating raw foods and taking away cake made me mad. And it wasn't that it made me mad that I couldn't eat them. It's that it brought up feelings that I think had been suppressed.
Right. Oh, so, that makes so much sense, Stacey, because it's like we live in a culture where we really don't allow anger. You know, I'm always running up against this wall with my son. What am I supposed to teach him to do with his anger? And we talk about it a lot, and you can talk about things and you can punch a pillow, scream into a pillow, things like that. But I feel like we're very averse in our modern culture to anger, and that's a natural emotion. And so we get into a very familiar habit of stuffing it. We stuff
and then exploding, anger. Stuffing and then exploding.
Explode.
Yeah.
So
stuffing.
What happens when you take the cork off the top of the bottle? Yeah. Does it have to explode, or is there a more peaceful and sustainable way through?
There is, and I've had to find my way. Yeah, I've had to find my way in that. So, yeah, and just knowing, for me, anger equals some kind of action. There's some kind of action I either didn't take when it was the moment to take it, and I'm dealing with the repercussions of that inside of myself, or it's calling me to take some kind of action. And, you know, I work with people from all different religions, and I know that there is that scripture that says, you know, do not sin in your anger, but it doesn't say don't be angry. It's basically saying when you're angry, don't pull out a machine gun and harm other people, whether it's the machine gun of your words, the machine gun of your, hateful thoughts, the machine gun of an actual physical harming of somebody. But it is calling you to take some kind of action that can help bring peacefulness, resolve, resolution. So anyway, and that was when you start uncorking that thing because you remove foods. That's why this is one of the things I work on with my coaching clients is a lot of times you're going to feel, a lot of women I talk to get so angry in the now, and the anger doesn't match the crime. The punishment doesn't match the crime. And they're like, what's wrong with me? And I'm like, well, that's trauma. That's trauma, and that's repressed emotions coming up. And they're all coming up in this situation right now. So your husband does something that's small, a small infraction of whatever you guys had agreed on. And then you give like 30 years of anger, that's not going to be helpful. Anger is supposed to be helpful. It's supposed to activate something that's going to be helpful for the situation. And it's showing up in a fire. So, and fire can warm a food, it can warm a person, it can burn down a village. And it just depends on how you have the container you have that in. And when you have it in, I'm safe, I'm enough, I am loved, I accept myself, that makes anger an okay emotion to have. And then you know what to do with it. And so those tools are really been a life changer for me that I've given to myself through my process and that I can work on with my clients. So yeah,
it's powerful. So juicy. And I just think so much about thyroid patients. A lot of us not speaking our truth, having a hard time speaking our truth. And that's another way that we suppress anger, is we just hold it inside by not expressing it. I feel like so much of my journey right now at 43 is, how do I speak my truth in a way that, feels true, that can express, I'm unhappy about something in a way that can also be heard, that's compassionate. And isn't that so much of what we need to do as a culture, as a planet right now, to not just avoid any sort of uncomfortable emotion, but to lean into it and learn how to speak to that, to say out loud, this isn't okay. This isn't okay with me. This isn't okay that this is happening in the world. And I also can say that with love and compassion for the person I'm saying it to, instead of just it, because, the molehill becoming the mountain, so to speak. Right.
But yes, the mountain lives inside of you. Right. And so you're just going to bring out what is in. And yeah, and there actually is a ton of anger out in the world right now. And it's not contained. It is the burning down the village kind of anger. And so, yeah, and it's hard to listen because when the fire gets out of control, it's raging and it's so loud you can't even hear yourself. And a lot of people are in this raging fire of anger, taking unhelpful actions, trying to release it, but not knowing how. And because it's hard to contain at this point. So it's a big deal. And I believe what, I think it was Dalai Lama or Buddha said, or maybe it was Gandhi, if you want to change the world, change yourself. And it was Gandhi, I think. So yeah, but it's the principle of all great spiritual leaders is we've got to deal with the fire inside of us.
Right.
Self-expression that is helpful to the situation and not harmful. That's the harmony and balance to strike for anger.
I feel like we could just go on for hours always with you, Stacey. You're so fun to talk to and so authentic and wise. And we're always so grateful to you for sharing your wisdom and your perspectives with us. Stacey is such a gift to the thyroid community as someone who really speaks to the human experience of moving through, in her case, and in many of our cases, Hashimoto's, and we're just
such a great reframer.
Yeah.
You place your words so intentionally, and I love it. So thank you for that.
Thank you for receiving me.
We hate to have to wrap it up, but thank you again for being here with us. And for our listeners, you can find Stacey online at staceyrobbins.com. Real quickly, Stacey, do you want to tell us a little bit about your Thrive with 5 small group coaching before we sign off?
Thank you. Yeah, really fast. So I am doing some small group coaching experiences with women where it's 5 of us working together through whatever your hot topic is of the day. So you come together on a Zoom call with 5 really beautiful souls, and you will experience some meditation, some laser coaching, a guided teaching that I share a small teaching. And after the laser coaching, you get community support and feedback from the other ladies. So you get these really rich tools and experiences for a very reasonable price and with other women in community. And you not only get the benefit of being coached one-on-one, but you get to experience the benefits of seeing other people coached. And very often we see ourselves in someone else's story and it penetrates us. So it's like massively beneficial to the women. My groups were full and I'm just opening up a couple of more groups because there's been such interest. So
that sounds lovely.
It does sound.
Well, thank you all for joining us for another episode of Thyroid Refresh TV, where we give you the inspiration and information you need to live thyroid healthy. You can receive your free Thyroid Thrivers grocery guide by visiting us at thyroidrefresh.com. And to learn more about Thyroid 30, our revolutionary 30-day wellness adventure, go to thyroidrefresh.com/thyroid30. You do have the power to heal, and we have the tools.
And if you've enjoyed this podcast and would like to help us continue inspiring and empowering thyroid patients worldwide, please leave us a review on iTunes. It would make our day, because you are what makes this community the amazing resource that it is. And we so appreciate your listenership and your support. We're Dana and Jenny, wishing you the best of health. See you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks, guys.